Welcome into OutKick the show. I am your fearless leader, Clay Travis. I appreciate all of you hanging out with us. Back now from Washington, D.C., where I was since Friday. Awesome time going to the inaugural balls, getting to meet and see a lot of people out there, many of you. It was fabulous. Tomorrow we'll be doing the fade, getting you ready for the NFC, AFC championship game and more. But in the meantime, it's playoff time. It's now or never. Don't miss out on the last few weeks of football action with Prize Picks, where you can win up to 1,000 times your money. Prize Picks now offers MasterCard quick and easy deposits into the account. I love using it. You can play it in Texas. You can play it in Florida. You can play it in California. These guys are fabulous. Download the app today. Use code OutKick to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That is code OutKick for $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. All right, we got a lot to dive into. Let's start with the big win for Ohio State. Congratulations, Buckeyes. They dominated. I thought maybe the most significant aspect of Ohio State's win was, think about this, the first time that Ohio State is able to play in a 4-team playoff. They get in as the 4 seed in 2014, win the national title. They otherwise would have been left out. They would not have been able to play. First time there is a 12-team playoff. Ohio State gets in as the 8 seed, wins 4 straight games by double digits, wins the national title. So both of the years that we have expanded the playoff to 4 and to 12, the first team to win the title in the wake of that was Ohio State. Now, I do think it's emblematic of the massive changes that we are seeing occurring in college football. What I mean by that is, in years past, Ohio State fans, to a large extent, would have defined the season by how they did in the yearly rival game against Michigan. And Ryan Day and company losing at home as nearly 3-touchdown favorites to Michigan would have completely obliterated the idea that it was a successful season. Not making the Big Ten title game would have been considered a huge failure. This team, in most of all of the years of college football history prior to this one, would have been considered a huge failure for going 10-2. Whatever happened in the bowl game wouldn't have mattered. This team would have been defined as a failure for losing to Oregon, but more importantly, for losing in a huge manner as a huge favorite to Michigan like they did. Instead, they lost to Michigan. They lost for a 4th straight year to Michigan. They lost as a huge favorite, but then they got to come back and beat Tennessee. They got to beat Oregon. They got to beat Texas, and they got to beat Notre Dame. And now they are a 14-2 national title team. College football fans are going to have to learn that the regular season doesn't matter that much if you get hot in the postseason. And if you had to choose between beating your hated rival or making the playoff and having a run once you get there, it's going to become a lot more like the NCAA tournament, where you might lose a regular season game, you might not even win your conference, but if your team gets hot and they go to the Final Four or they go to the Elite Eight, or certainly they go and win a championship, whatever happened in the regular season won't matter at all. And so I do think that the way this season went down is emblematic of how things are going to change. I also think you're going to have to start to think much more like an NFL fan. For instance, Washington is playing Philadelphia for a 3rd time this season. Whatever happened the first 2 times doesn't matter at all. It's only what happens in the 3rd go-around. So, congratulations, Ohio State. Huge, dominant performance in the postseason, but it's representative of the way that college football has changed, that a team like Ohio State, which would not have made the 4-team playoff, which certainly wouldn't have made the 2-team playoff, which didn't even make the Big Ten title game, can go and win a title and still have left its fans in the regular season feeling like they were cheated Regular season rivalries are going to matter less and less because everybody's going to focus on the postseason goal of making the playoff. Much like in every other sport, if you make the playoff, the postseason, and you make a run there, it's going to matter way more in terms of the way that people think about the season than what happens during the regular season. Okay, I want to give credit here. I was Sunday night in Georgetown area of D.C. watching the Ravens game against the Bills game. Lamar Jackson rolls out perfect play call for the two-point conversion that would have tied the game. Mark Andrews drops it. Bills get the onside kick. They close out the game. They get the win. I predicted the Bills to win. I want long-suffering Bills fans to get a championship. It's why I'm rooting for the Bills now of the teams that are left. But I have to give tremendous credit to Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson for coming together in a way that many in the sports media did not want to happen. They tried to pin these guys as the two leading MVP candidates, and they tried to do it based on it being a racial division. They tried to play identity politics, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, black guy, white guy, but these guys refused to play along. And I give them immense credit because I love the way that both these dudes handled it. They didn't play into the race war. They didn't play into identity politics. They just went out and balled, and they have a tremendous amount of respect for each other. And that, to me, is what the best of sports can come to represent. Best man or best woman wins. Doesn't matter who your daddy was. Doesn't matter who your mommy was. Doesn't matter where you went to school. Doesn't matter anything. How much money your family has. None of that matters when you step between the lines. We're all treated the exact same. Unless you're the Kansas City Chiefs and you get every call. But in general, everyone is treated the same in sports. And it's what makes the meritocracy of sports work. I told you, in my opinion, the four best quarterbacks in order in the NFL right now are Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, and Joe Burrow. Most of you probably agree that those are the four best quarterbacks in the NFL. But guess what? Some of you disagree. And some of you disagree with the way that I rank them, and that's great. But what their background is doesn't matter. All that matters is their pursuit of excellence, their pursuit of the meritocracy, and their performance on the field. And I thought they handled all of this great. I think the impact of OutKick is growing because, now, admittedly, I was at the inaugural balls and I was at the inauguration. I was in D.C. I wasn't on my phone as much. So maybe there was a lot of identity politics discussion that I missed. But by and large, it seemed like that got dialed down in a big way. Congrats to the Bills and Josh Allen. I'm rooting for you going forward. Okay, couple of other things that I want to hammer here and have some fun with. We've got BOOBGATE. Lauren Sanchez, the fiance of Amazon founder Jeff Bezos, went to the inauguration and she wore a major cleavage top. And nobody could miss it. She was basically like the O. Henry candy bar heiress from Seinfeld who was walking around wearing a bra as a shirt. She wore this crazy lingerie top, boobs out everywhere for the inauguration. Everybody is weighing in about it. I think we've got a photo and also Megyn Kelly. Let's start with the photo. Can we zoom in? Is it possible to zoom in? Here is Zuckerberg, if you see there, just absolutely unable to resist staring at Lauren Sanchez's boobs there. How could you resist looking at these things? All right. She's sitting next to Bezos. This is at the actual inauguration in the rotunda. And here is Megyn Kelly reacting and basically saying, hey, the story of the inauguration should not be your tits hanging out. Listen.
This is not my first time saying she dresses like a hooker because she does. I don't think she's seen a doctor. She doesn't want to go under the scalp. I mean, you tell me. That's not natural. No. And that's fine if that's your choice, but have some dignity and some respect for your setting in your circumstances. No one should be talking about your tits. Sorry. They should be talking about the inauguration.
All right, this is going to stun some people. And some of you are going to be out there and you're going to be like, I can't believe they got to Clay too. I am an unabashed defender of the First Amendment and boobs. There is a scale of cleavage that is appropriate based on the event that you attend. I would argue on the cleavage scale, on the far end, when you go to a funeral, you should never have a boob top. When Aunt Edna dies, great Aunt Edna, your grandma dies, nobody should go to the funeral and say, boy, did you see Julie's tits there? I mean, Julie's tits looked amazing. I know somebody died, but my God, did you see Julie's tits? Nobody should be saying that. Funeral, as an unabashed supporter of the First Amendment and boobs, funeral cleavage should basically not exist. It should be demure. I know that's a popular word now. It should be restrained. The last place you want to go and see boobs is a funeral. Now, if I die soon, maybe because my wife kills me, I will rescind this for me. I want there to be lots of cleavage, even though I'll be dead and I'll be gone, because you can honor me, women, by showing up with boobs at my funeral. In general, however, it should not happen. Let me also say this. If you die as the husband and your widow shows up with mega cleavage at your funeral, she should be the prime suspect to have killed you. I don't think you died of natural causes. I'm just saying, if the widow is showing a lot of décolletage, there's a lot of boobs going on at the funeral, she probably killed you. Inappropriate. So on the scale of appropriate, inappropriate, cleavage should be the most restricted at a funeral. Flip side. If you are out in New Year's Eve in Las Vegas, or really ever out in Las Vegas at a nightclub, your boobs should be everywhere. There should be angles of physics that I don't even understand that allow your boobs. I don't know how women wear tops. I see tops sometimes. You go out in Scottsdale, Arizona. You go out in Vegas. You go out in South Beach in Miami. I'm not even smart enough to understand the physics of how your nipples aren't visible. I see some of these tops, and I'm like, it reminds me of being a teenage boy where I thought back in the day, hey, if I go stand in front of the television and I look down, I think there might be a nipple just beyond the edge of the screen, right? I have spent my life trying to find nipples, all right? Back in the day, Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue comes out. Hey, is that a nipple? Is that a shadow? Even now, sometimes I see Instagram photos and I think for a moment, I think she accidentally posted a picture of her nipple. I'm an expert. I don't know how the math works. I don't know how the physics line up. I don't know how we have gone from rocket scientists trying to actually send ships to space to now designing women's tops so the nipple isn't visible. I don't know how it works, all right? That's the other extreme. We're going out. It's Vegas. It's New Year's Eve. Hey, it's club season on South Beach in Scottsdale. The boobs should be out. Those are my parameters, right? It's much closer for the inauguration to a funeral as a solemnic, very serious event. No one should be, I agree with Megan, no one should be talking about your tits at the inauguration. Imagine Melania wore that outfit. Instead of wearing that hat that everybody talked about, imagine that when Donald Trump raises his right hand to get sworn in, Melania is standing right there with her tits all out like Lauren Sanchez was. I don't know that Trump could get the inauguration correct. He's probably seen his wife naked 10,000 times. I don't know. He might flub the inaugural address as well as the actual oath of office because he's like, I'm sorry, I can't look away. Those boobs are amazing. John Roberts, he probably hasn't seen a great set of boobs in 40 years. No offense to Mrs. Roberts. I'm sure she's lovely. I don't think she's wearing that top. There's no way he can deliver the oath of office. You think John Roberts, 65 years old, rolling up with a pair of cans like that, just right in his eyeballs? No way he can deliver it. You can't go full boob New Year's Eve, Las Vegas, Scottsdale, Arizona, Miami, Florida, South Beach. You just can't do it. And so the criticism's valid. I know that a lot of you are going to think, man, somebody got to Clay. He's all in on the First Amendment and boobs, nearly got fired from every job he's ever had for saying it. And now here are some big, beautiful boobs, and Clay saying inappropriate. It's the location, not of the boobs. The boobs plus the event is the analysis. You can't show up and be like, hey, look at the rack at Aunt Edna's funeral, and you can't show up at the actual event. And Melania would never wear that. And if anybody's going to be the star of the inauguration when it comes to outfits, it should be the president's wife. I'm right on this, and I understand if you think, man, this is not the man I used to know. He's changed. He's gone from pro-boob to anti-boob. Nobody loves boobs more than me. But boobs in the context in which they should appear. And let me also say this at the end in case I'm wrong about all this. I don't know what any woman should wear to any event. I've been married for 20 years. My wife has honestly asked me 9,643 times, what should I wear in our marriage? 9,643 times, I've had no idea. I've given advice on outfits like twice, and when I'm wrong, my wife still remembers. For instance, we went to Nashville Predators game, NHL playoff game. I told her, hey, you know what? People are really dressed up well. I was impressed at how well the women were dressed up for the Nashville Predator game. You should dress up. I swear the entire arena, every woman had on jeans and a T-shirt, and my wife was dressed up like we were going out for a nice dinner. She's never forgiven me for it. It's like a decade ago. She still brings it up. Well, you told me when we were going to the Nashville Predator game, this is why I only wear jeans and a button down and a jacket to basically every event. Ever. Like, I don't have any idea what's appropriate. Well, I'm going to wear jeans, a button down, and a jacket. I'll fit in no matter what. I don't know how women's outfits work. This is also why no male no straight man inside of any business ever talks to a woman about the dress code. He always brings in a woman, and he's like, you're going to have to talk to her. I got no idea what's going on here. I got no earthly idea what's appropriate, what's not. I'm not even going to step in this. I'm not getting an HR complaint. I'm telling you, no man has any idea what any woman should wear. I know we just went to the inaugural ball. My wife is asking me, how many fancy dresses do I need to bring? Can I wear blue? Is that going to be appropriate? Inappropriate? I got no idea about anything. So if I'm wrong on this entire take, it's because I'm male. I'm a moron. But I just want you to know I still appreciate, support, and firmly endorse the First Amendment and boobs, even though I know sometimes we get booby-trapped like we did by Lauren Sanchez, like Mark Zuckerberg certainly did. All right, speaking of morons, I don't even know what this lady's name is. She's the mayor of Philadelphia. And she decided she wanted to spread Eagles joy by spelling the Eagles out as a part of their cheer. E-A-G-L-E-S, Eagles, Eagles, Eagles. Fly, Eagles, fly. Whatever the heck that chant is, I've heard it my entire life. You just heard me spell, boom, not to brag, 7th and 8th grade spelling bee champion. Maybe it was 6th grade. Anyway, once a spelling bee champion. Here is the idiot mayor of Philadelphia trying to spell Eagles and failing miserably. Enjoy.
E-L-G-S-E-S, Eagles! Let's go, Birds!
She wasn't even in the neighborhood. You know, there's probably words that you try to spell that you know you're constantly getting wrong. I'll give you one. bureaucracy. I misspell bureaucracy every time I try to sit down and spell it. And you have that little red squiggly line, and then you try to respell it like 3 or 4 different times. I get it. There are some words that are complicated because the letters don't go in the order that you would expect. Totally makes sense. Eagles is not one of those. I think what we are seeing in the early days of the Trump administration is people are starting to say, whether it's the fires in LA, whether it's who's in charge of our different governmental agencies, let's just get the most talented people in charge of the most important jobs. And let's not worry about what their race is or who they sleep with or what ethnicity they are. Let's just go straight sports and put the best man or the best woman in the job and pay them accordingly and have the best success as a result. That feels to me like where we are headed in a substantial way. All right, couple of other things that I want to hit. By the way, I've got a lot going on. I'm doing Jack Carr's podcast. Incredible, successful author, Jack Carr is a friend. I've met him several times. I'm going to do his podcast here shortly. And then I'm also doing Sage Steele's podcast. I'm not sure when those are going to come out. I also did Piers Morgan's show this morning, in addition to the Clay and Buck show and in addition to OutKick. So I got a big show day. Let me hit several other things here that I think are significant. Maybe tomorrow I'll hit on this more. Trump was on ESPN during halftime. I'm going to talk about this tomorrow, flag it for the team. Let me tell you why I think that is significant and what it represents. But instead, where was I on national title night? I was at the inaugural balls. I went to 2. Commander-in-Chief Ball, you might have seen me on television with Sean Hannity. And I went to the Liberty Ball, 2 of the 3 that Trump appeared at on the course of the evening. Liberty Ball, I was on. Tommy and I did hosting on Fox Nation up on the stage. It was a good night. I watched Notre Dame and Ohio State because at the Liberty Ball, there was a section that was cordoned off where they had a bunch of televisions, and you could sit and watch Notre Dame and Ohio State play. And it was from FanDuel and DraftKings. FanDuel and DraftKings were both sponsoring the inauguration party that I was at. And I think this is important. I'm just going to tell you guys the truth. I'm not sure anybody, maybe Pat McAfee did, other than them, nobody made FanDuel more money. And I think we may have even made more money for FanDuel than Pat McAfee, but one or the other of us. Nobody made FanDuel more money than OutKick and me. We made FanDuel tens of millions of dollars when gambling started to become legal. And some of you will remember FanDuel was a big partner of OutKick back in the day, 2020, 2021. We made lots and lots of money. In fact, I'll just tell you a backstory. On Super Bowl 2021, we made, OutKick did and me, I mean, I own 90% of it. We made $2 million on Super Bowl day 2021 alone. We were getting paid $350 every time someone signed up for a FanDuel account. That was our deal. We made them tens of millions of dollars. We made tens of millions of dollars just off FanDuel. Sell the company. 2021 contract runs out. Corporate at FanDuel decides Clay Travis, as an endorser of Donald Trump and as an outspoken person who believes that men shouldn't be playing in women's sports, we think he's too controversial now. We don't want to work with him. DraftKings said the same thing. Now, Prize Picks, who I encourage all of you to sign up for, has a radical idea. They just want everybody, regardless of their politics, to understand and enjoy their product. That's what I think every big brand should do. But I'm going to call out directly FanDuel DraftKings marketing department. You cowards are now trying to get all in bed with the Trump administration. You know what Trump said when he walked out on the stage at the Liberty Ball? Men shouldn't be playing in women's sports. You have gone from oh, we can't even allow our brand at FanDuel to be connected to Clay Travis, who made us tens of millions of dollars and who we paid tens of millions of dollars to before he sold his company to OutKick to Fox. Oh, he's too controversial. We can't be connected to him. You just sponsored the inaugural ball of Donald Trump, you cowardly twats. I'm sorry. These marketing departments need to be called out because this happened all throughout the advertising world. People are like, oh, Clay Travis, you're a grift. I could have made way more money, believe it or not, just by shutting my mouth and being like, I think chicks with dicks are heroes. We need more Leah Thomases. We need more bathing suits with men tucking their dicks away and pretending to be chicks. What I said was actually the things that marketers knew that they didn't want anybody to say. And now suddenly you can imagine my surprise when DraftKings and FanDuel are trying to get completely in bed with Donald Trump to the extent that they are spending millions of dollars to sponsor his inauguration party. I don't blame them for wanting to put up televisions to watch Ohio State and Notre Dame. But I just think it's important that all of you know what a bunch of cowards their marketing departments are. That they would go from, Clay can't say that he's a Trump supporter. That's unacceptable. Even though probably the majority of their players are Trump voters to the extent that they vote. And who cares if they aren't? At least half of them are based on the country. To them now spending millions of dollars to show up at the Trump inauguration and claim they weren't a bunch of lying, sniveling cowards behind the scenes. I'm sorry. I'm tired of biting my tongue on it. That's the reality. Welcome on the Trump train, you cowards. Welcome. It's a big tent. It's interesting that you finally showed up and suddenly agree that men shouldn't be playing women's sports now that Trump actually won the 2024 election. But when Clay Travis said it in 2021, oh my God, that's unacceptable. We can't allow that to occur. All these people are such fakes. And I just want you to make knowledge of this and be aware of it as you start to see the culture shift and everybody claim, oh, I've always been on the Trump side. Yeah, whatever. All right. Last thought. Some more fun. Ryan Day, congratulations on the national title. We got to end the beard dye. I saw Josh Pate, who's a friend of mine. He was asking, why is Ryan Day so unpopular? Because dyeing your beard is the antithesis of why you grew a beard in the first place. Beards are about rugged, masculine identity and not making yourself the slave of having a razor every single day to scrape your skin. It's awful. To make it look like your beard doesn't actually grow and that you aren't a man who has facial hair. Dyeing your beard, to me, way worse than dyeing your hair. Now, I've never done either. And right now, my plan is I'm just going to go gray whenever I go gray. And if suddenly I'm 60 and I still have dark hair and a dark beard, I'm going to make sure that we delete this video. And I'm just going to claim that it's just never, I don't know what you're talking about. I just never went gray. So far, I've never used hair dye. I've never used beard dye. I don't have as much of an issue with hair dye, although the older I get, the more I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Al Michaels. Still a midnight black hair. Oh, yeah, he's been dyeing his hair for 40 years. You can't dye your beard. I feel like if Ryan Day just let his beard have some specks of gray in it, instead of standing there in front of the mirror with the Just for Men brush, making it look like there's no gray in his beard at all, I think his overall approval ratings in the larger American ecosystem would skyrocket. I am fundamentally, unequivocally opposed to the dyeing of male beards. You got to let the gray come. You've got to own what age you are. No dyeing your beard. Men who dye their beard cannot be trusted. And again, if I decide to dye my beard in the future, this is going to be like the Mission Impossible tape. I'm going to show up at the OutKick headquarters. I'm going to find what's today, the January 22nd show. I'm going to burn it. No one will ever be able to find it. When this gets clipped and shared, I'm going to like toss it like it's never going to be seen again. But for right now, anyone who dyes their beard cannot be trusted. And that is the truth. All right. I got to go do Jack Carr's podcast. DBAP unless you need to SBAP. Tomorrow, remind me, guys, I want to talk about Netflix. By the way, stock's up like $115 today. What does it mean? I'll talk about talk about Trump on ESPN, what I think it represents. Guys, flag that. Make sure that I talk about it tomorrow. And I'll also dive maybe some into the pardons, depending on how stories go. But I love all of you. DBAP unless you need to SBAP. Thanks to everybody who came up during the course of the inauguration weekend. Fabulous time. I'll see you guys tomorrow.